maybe a little bit more comic Wookiee right now. I mean, I have some. I think I have some conventions that I kind of use when I do Chewbacca. It's kind of like a style that I tend to kind of get into for what would maybe be considered my my funny Star Wars drawings. But I think like there's some features about Chewbacca that always kind of happen. One is that his hair kind of swoops in towards his face, or maybe you consider that swooping out and back. He's always got a good amount of hair below his chin. If I remember right, I read that Chewbacca was modeled on a dog that George Lucas had seen, and he just thought, well, is there a good way to have a companion that has some of the great characteristics of a faithful dog? And so that was kind of where Chewbacca came from. Although I would say in the books, the Wookiees were a lot scarier. There's more to them in the books. All right, so right here I have, this is part of that dog-like mouth that Chewbacca has. And I kind of like to do the nose a little bit like this, where you can see that it's got the very prominent nostrils. I kind of like to do it this way so that I can kind of have some hair on top of it. Chewie's got some pretty sharp teeth, so I'm just going to hint at those teeth real quick. I always like to make sure that I kind of capture his little furry goatee. And I've seen, like sometimes people will bring the hair kind of like in a big flowing pattern down here from his mouth, because he doesn't have whiskers necessarily, but sometimes you can see the hair up here under his, I guess it's on his lip, under his eyes and things, around his nose. And there is hair that goes this way. It's a great big, super long flowing mustache if you do it that way. Sometimes I choose not to do it that way, but sometimes it's fun. I think it just depends on what you're looking for. And I think in a more comical Wookiee, you can kind of play with the eyes a little bit. When you actually look at the actor, I guess when you look at the actor in the mask, you can see his eyes are very definitely a person's eyes. When you get into a drawing like this, you kind of have some options. You kind of maybe push it so it's a little bit more animal than person. And I've seen some people do some fun stuff with some, like adding eyebrows in different ways. Sometimes I kind of like to do it where he has them, but because of all this hair that kind of sweeps back, I kind of try to work it into that. Kind of puts him in sections. He's kind of got this section above his eye, and then this section below his eye. Same thing happens on the other side. And then he's kind of got this helmet of hair up here. He's got his little beard down here. And that, I mean, really, that kind of covers most of the most of the stuff. I've seen people, they'll kind of segment him into a headpiece like this, whereas his chest comes up into his head. So if you're thinking of it like a mask, I think this would all go over the shoulders and over the head, and then you kind of bring in the other parts. I always have the Chewbacca bandolier, which is a very unique sort of bandolier and stuff that I've seen. I'll put some furry shoulders over here. Maybe a little bit more furry chest underneath. Go back to his bandolier. This thing is very interesting to me. I've drawn it a number of times, and it always it's always worth looking at again and think about how you're gonna attack it, because it's really these boxes that sit along a sash, and so I'm always thinking about what parts of the box do you see. And not only that, then it gets these, kind of gets these little lined pieces in it. It's like some kind of strap to hold everything down, right? I always think about the angles, because if you can, you want them to be straight through here, but they're always a little bit offset from where this piece that comes around the edge of the block. Like it has to go someplace. And that doesn't always hit on one of these lines. So you gotta work on your spatial perception a little bit. You know, or if you simplify it, then sure, it can all be a straight line. No big deal. But you gotta kind of decide before you start. Okay. So, yeah, kind of funny Chewbacca.